Well, good morning. It's Monday, March 13th, and we're down to the last of the course. Hey, good outcome on Selection Sunday yesterday. The Zags got a number one seed, so let's hope they have a deep run into the tournament. That would be awesome. Okay, I want to comment on Module 5 and on your papers. Module 5, the topic, of course, was intellectual property and marketing. And many of you chose good discussion points and made good comments about your classmates' work. My takeaway on that is that you're beginning to realize that your intellectual property is a very valuable asset. Your trademarks, your copyrights, something that you can own, something that you can sell, something that you can license. Speaking of licensing, CLC, Collegiate Licensing Company, is a company, I think it's owned by IMG last I checked, is a company that will manage your marks for you and license them to people whom you approve of so that you can generate a revenue stream without having to manage all the various vendors that may or may not qualify to take care of your marks. I wanted to also just touch base. You found endorsements to be an issue that you were interested in. Endorsements, simply a matter of contract. Many of you spoke of the ethics of endorsements and, somebody shilling for some company or some product that they don't use or they don't believe in. Well, that's business, and, you can have your ethics about that, and many do have a standard where they won't endorse something that they don't believe in or they don't use. Onto your papers. So just to finish up on Module 5, I think you did a great job on that. Once again, as you usually did, you picked good topics and you commented on the ethics surrounding those topics and subjects, and you made good commentary on your colleagues' own contributions. So on to the papers then. The paper was a difficult issue, a difficult problem that came to you. It's not at all unheard of, that particular situation. Many of you mentioned the current situation at Baylor, past situations at Duke, and others, unfortunately, many others, where that topic of sexual assault, touching on the athletic department in a very direct way, is part of the problem. And so, one thing I did notice that came out is the notion of self-protection. Athletic departments have in their DNA a notion of self-protection, a notion of wanting to circle the wagons, a notion of wanting to get out in front of anything bad that is just beginning to happen. That's not a bad thing, but more often than not, it can put you in a hole that you may be having a difficult time digging out of. The idea of wanting to take charge and get out in front of an issue can frequently result in what would now be called interference with an investigation. In fact, the practice is so prevalent and so much in the DNA of athletic departments that the NCAA recently put out rules specifying that athletic departments are not to interfere in investigations under Title IX and are not supposed to do anything other than follow university rules. So, on to some specifics. In our fact pattern and in our problem, you had one job to do under your rules. That one job as the athletic director was to put player A in touch with the investigator immediately. Some of you did just that, which is as it was supposed to be. Others wanted to go out and involve others, call in the coach, bring in the coach and the player, and make other calls, etc., before you put the player in touch with the investigator. Now, calling the president or calling the vice president or making sure you're on the same page with the investigator, nothing wrong with that to make sure you know what you have to do. but what you had to do was simply put the player in touch with the investigator, and that is that. Had you done just that, the investigation would have run its course in an hour, in a day, in a week, who knows? And if your school's policy is to suspend upon mere allegation, then that's probably the road you would have taken, although I would take issue with such a rule to suspend on mere allegation as very lacking in due process. In any event, immediate suspension was not necessarily what needed to be done. Again, if your rules called for immediate suspension upon allegation, I have some serious due process concerns with that. In Part B, back to Part A. Many of you wanted to call the president, and that's fine. The president knows what you know, and you just wanted to touch base and make sure you're on the same page and all those other things that we're concerned with. But the president is not going to want to get involved in this. The president will say to you, fine, Mr. AD, call is yours. Make the right decision and follow the rules. The president is not going to make any decision whatsoever on this, is not going to meet with you or anybody else about this, and is going to put it squarely on you. Into Part B, we saw that having the meeting, agreeing to the meeting that the coach asked for with the assistant coaches, that's a serious error in my judgment. It's a serious interference with the investigation. Recall that the meeting took place before the player was put in touch with the investigator. And the extreme downside of having that meeting was that everybody in the room heard firsthand the admission of player A as to what happened. That admission was to criminal conduct, to some degree, criminal conduct, from rape to sexual assault to physical assault. In any event, everybody in that room heard that admission and therefore became witnesses in any investigation, in any trial, whether criminal or civil, against player A. Follow it through to a criminal trial. Player A will not take the witness stand. He'll take the fifth and not say anything. And so the prosecutor puts on everybody who was in that room and asks that person, what did player A say? Your testimony will put player A away. That's the serious downside to having such a meeting, is you create witnesses, you create evidence. One thing that was, it doesn't surprise me anymore. It came to never surprise me, really. But one thing that no one, not one of you, did was consult counsel, university counsel, or any counsel. Lawyers can help you from digging holes that you can't get out of, and from drawing a roadmap from where you are to where you want to be, and avoiding all the pitfalls that might lay along that road. So consult with counsel. One other thing, some of you mentioned that that you would have others in the room with player A when he or she talks to the investigator. Listen, no good investigator will ever allow someone in the room, except the person's lawyer, when they interview that person. The reason is that they want to avoid collusion. They don't want one person to know what the other person has said or is saying, so that they can adjust their testimony or their input to comply or to comport with whatever the person before them has said. Any good investigator will say, no thank you, you can't sit in here, only the interviewee and that person's lawyer can sit in here. I'm not going to talk to anybody else. So just get that out of your mind, that a good investigator would allow anyone else to be in the room. Okay, overall, I thought the papers were good. Some of you, 2 or 3 of you, threaded the needle just right, I thought, and put player A directly in touch with the investigator right away, took a wait and see attitude to see what the investigator might come up with. How much time that would take, we don't know, and would withhold a suspension until that time. That respects the player's due process rights, and it respects the process. Many of you chose to suspend immediately or to involve others right away in a situation that would actually be interference with an investigation. So a warning, words to the wise, this was a good exercise, and you learned that there's a real downside to taking some kind of initiative to try to get out in front of a problem, to find out first what happened so that you can manage what happened. Very dangerous ground to walk upon. Okay, I think that's it. We've had a great time together. I've had a great time with you. I've loved working in this lovely studio here. More on that later if we ever meet. In that regard, I'm in Spokane. If you're ever in Spokane, look me up sometime. Be happy to take you to lunch or take you to coffee or something. Please feel free to contact me anytime in your student career or in your work career. I'm available to you always, and I wish you the best of success. Again, I had a great time with you, and you presented a good challenge to me, and I hope I presented a good challenge and learning experience to you. So that's it. Good luck in your studies, and we'll see you next time.